All right, we're going to get going, everybody.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The roll call, please, Amy.
Mr. Bova
Full house.
and Mr. Brodsky.
Here.
Ms. Burke,
Here,
Mr. Coyne,
Present.
Mr. D'Elia,
Here.
Mr. Dodge.
Here.
Mr. Ford, Mr. Karam,
Here.
Mr. Miola,
Present.
Mr. Santa Croce, Mr. Saunders,
Here.
and Mr. Beach.
Here.
Thank you.
And I'd like to welcome Ron Beach to our board, supervisor of the town of Schuyler.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you. You have the March 17, 2025 draft minutes in your packet. Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. The second? Thank you. Any comments, corrections, deletions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The first item on our agenda, a resolution approving intermunicipal agreement with the town of Frankfurt.
I'll pick it up.
For background, then I'll turn it over to Ken. But our chief engineer, Dan Falzinski, has been working with both the town of Schuyler and the town of Frankfurt. Both of these are older issues. The Schuyler one goes all the way back to probably around 2020. Yeah. So it's pretty old. Members that were on this board back at the time, we passed two separate resolutions, one in 2001, another one in 2003, actually contributing to the project. We were going to kick in some money to upsize the tank so that it could be used to do other things besides the immediate needs. Unfortunately, when we got into the lawsuit with the state, the project got frozen out. The funds had to be returned, but now they reacquired. The project's ready to move forward. Frankfurt's in a similar case. Their district is down a little bit closer to Bleecker Street and Route 5S. They're ready to move ahead. Typically, the model is that the town would form a water district to be able to get people off of wells and onto public water supply. The town district would then borrow the money, put the infrastructure in place. Once it's all built, it gets turned over to us. We assume the maintenance on it. We assume the operation of it. We supply the water. The customers that are connected then become our direct customers. In this case, we won't assume ownership of the pipe until the debt is paid off by the district. So we lease it for $1 a year and maintain it and supply to customers. Ken's been working with the towns on the contracts. The towns have not acted fully on them yet, but at this point, I don't want to speak for Ken, so I'd like to turn it over to Ken.
Yeah, so basically, I've been working on these contracts for a lot of years, actually. But they're two separate contracts, and they each basically provide the same thing as Pat said, that there are water districts that will be established or have been actually established by municipalities. They are putting in the water distribution system per our specifications. And then what happens, because they are obtaining funding and grants, they cannot technically turn it over to us until those have been paid off. So we enter into a lease agreement where during that period they own it, but we maintain it and run it, and then also collect the revenue from it. We're pretty much at the end of the contract negotiations. There are some minor things that have to be tailored, but pretty much these are the agreements that are going to be, each board will have to approve them in order for them to go into effect.
And we should probably add that when they borrow money to construct the piping system, the debt stays with the homeowners, doesn't get transferred to us. So we're not paying for the infrastructure, they are, and it gets levied as an item on the property tax as a district charge. But we don't take the debt when we take over the service.
Yeah, we don't absorb anything, and that's essentially why we have to wait for them to pay off their debt, though.
This is similarly what happened basically as the district was formed. As
Correct.
the authority was formed.
Right, and actually, I don't know, I don't remember how many years ago it was when we basically bought the system from the city of Utica after their debt had been paid off. So it's very simple.
I just got one question. You guys did surveys probably of the water intake, our reservoirs and everything will hold these two new municipalities? No problem at all?
So what happens is when they're going to form a district, they'll come to us, they'll say, we're going to get 60, 70, 80 homes that are all on wells. Here's what we're proposing. We look at the total demand, we look at the plans. They don't construct anything until we give an okay that the pipe size is correct, that the layout is correct, et cetera. We know we can meet the demand. Then they have to go and get other approvals from the health department, et cetera. So all of that gets looked at before anything actually moves forward. And so, yeah, that question's been looked at and answered.
Well, plus there is a large amount of available usage. We can continue to do this expansion, which is what we've talked about. We talked to Herkimer, we talked to Little Falls years ago, and looking at other parts of the region as the authority for the region. So
And these are both pretty small districts. You're talking about 40,000 gallons a day. You know, we're drawing 19 to 20 million gallons a day. So it's very incrementally, a very small extra demand on the system. The real question is the water available at the hookup point at the location? And that's been looked at, and the answer is yes.
One more other one. It said a year warranty on the construction. Does that mean who's warranting the construction? Because you said you're going to take over the maintenance right away. So does that mean you're taking over the warranty, or
The contractor will post a performance bond. Anything that goes,
1 year warranty on their work?
Right. At the end of when it's turned over to us, there's a 1 year warranty.
After that.
After they turn it, that's when we acquire
So you're
title.
not warranting any pipes that they did?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
and typically there's no maintenance in the 20 years leading up to that because it's brand new infrastructure. So unless it was a faulty installation, which is going to become apparent, the performance bond will cover that. The contract will be on.
Contract.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
to keep doing this, keep adding to the system. This is not even as much as a large business that might come in.
Right.
But keep going.
So both of these resolutions, although require separate votes, basically do the same thing.
So is all the piping in the public right of way, or where is it exactly? Okay, so we don't need easements.
Right.
That
Right.
we've gotten easements for ours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can,
So access is guaranteed to us, whether it's by easement on someone else's property or in the right of
Well,
way.
at the end of the thing, I noticed there's a bill of sale for the infrastructure, but I'm just wondering whether are there easements that need to be assigned over to us too, or I didn't see anything.
If they exist, they'll be turned over to us
Yeah,
at some
okay.
time. Yeah.
And can these resolutions reflect everything we need?
Yes, they do.
Any other questions?
Good work.
Someone care to move the first resolution as presented for the town of Frankfurt? Thank you, Rich. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any further comments, discussion?
Good work.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. And someone care to move the resolution as presented for the town of Schuyler?
I will.
Thank you, Dale. Is there a second? Thank you. Any further comments, discussions, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Reaffirming HR policies.
So I'll give a quick overview. If you have questions, our Director of Human Resources, Sandra Dare, is here. But essentially, and you've heard this before, under the Public Authorities Reform Act, there are certain policies that the board is required to do an annual review on and reaffirm every year. So we've been bringing those to the board now for many years, a couple at a time, so we don't inundate you with 15 of them all at once. This month, we're doing all the, maybe not all the HR ones, but most of them anyway. These are unchanged from what you've approved last year and the year before. But if you have any questions on any of the specific ones, Sandra's here to answer your questions.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Well, you answered, there's no change in the policies.
No change. No, they're the same as they were before.
Before.
So we'll have a resolution reaffirming all four is listed in the agenda.
I'll move.
Second, thank you, Frank. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. In the committee reports, you have the first quarter investment statement. Jim?
In your binders,
Under what section? Miscellaneous? Committee reports, okay. There's a statement of investments. Under public authorities law, we're required to provide you a list of our investments on a quarterly basis. Any revenues that are obtained, any expenses associated. This is for the first quarter of the year. We have a January to December fiscal year. So one of the new items on the second page is our 2025 bonds. So you'll see those listed on the second page. Those are new. We just closed on our bonds in March. So this is brand new. So we'll be funding a sinking fund. That's why you see those listing of other items that are there, other potential investments. Another item that I want to bring to your attention, the 2023 bonds, where again, I believe I told you last time, we have a arbitrage situation because we're earning more funds than we're paying in interest. So back in a year from now, or a year before, we had a $55,000 liability. It's now grown to a $115,000 liability. So this is a arbitrage, or we're earning too much interest on our investments compared to what we're paying. So it's a rebate that we would have to pay after a 5-year term. So after 5 years, then we would have to pay any funds that are in excess, because it could go back the other way. If investments kind of diminished, went the other way, then it may go down over time.
To put these regs in place to discourage public entities from borrowing money and then investing it to try to earn a higher yield than they're paying and make money in the process.
If they don't offset taxes, why not?
Yeah, well, they don't want us to do that. It's too risky.
Yeah,
So we get punished if we do that.
Investments are obviously, we're earning a lot, and it shows by the market has been up, and these type of investments. Pardon me?
You have a limit, then you can go to.
Yeah. Well, essentially, it's calculated at least once a year. We have to have all of our bonded funds calculated by a firm that does this, and they give us reports. And so there is also the 2020 bonds also has a liability as well. So that right now is another 100,000 that we've earned. Well, yeah. Shame. Yeah, we're primarily money markets and CDs. And so if you go back a year and a half from this present time, we were earning probably 0.25 on an investment. Well, just a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. It was, yeah, we can get up into the 4s easily, depending on. So
they let us average this over a 5-year period?
Yeah, so it's calculated each time. So if the investments were to drop based on the rates,
Right.
then it could reverse itself.
Okay.
Where's the liability overtures go? You got to pay the federal government with it?
The IRS, yeah, we have to pay it back, yeah. The last time that we did that was in 2001. We had to pay, I want to say $95,000 on a bond issue.
The federal government $95,000 because you made too much money in your bonds. Correct?
Yeah.
No.
Who made that law?
No, that's been a long time.
However, the other way to look at it is it's not really our money because it was interest earnings in excess of the cost of the borrowing.
Yeah, right.
So the money came in through interest. It didn't come from the ratepayers. Didn't come from the ratepayers.
No worries. It sounds like a sleight of hand.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
They take it.
yeah,
You're making money for the federal government, huh?
exactly.
That's so nice.
Provide this report on a quarterly basis and keep you abreast of any changes. But these calculations for the different issues are done once a year. So we just had the 2023 bonds calculated, and it increased. So
And we only invest in money backed.
yeah, money markets, CDs, treasuries, all have the full faith and credit of the U.S. government.
Yeah, absolutely. Should go to bank with the CDs, huh? That's a lot of money to transfer
We
around.
have a lot of CDs.
Yes.
We have someone that does
Huh?
that.
Any other questions for Jim?
Yeah, I see we're making progress on shut-offs.
We are. We're getting to the monthly report, and I guess we're going to transition right into that.
Well, we need a motion to approve the quarterly report. Thanks, Rich. A second, thanks, Frank. Any further discussion or questions?
Well, I have a question on the shut off.
Oh,
We're getting
nervous.
to that one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Shut-offs, Jim.
Okay.
So in your monthly report, Mr. Coyne has jumped ahead on me, and yeah, that's okay. That's okay. That's good. This is February's report, so we're catching up because partly we went through an audit, and by the way, the auditors are expected to be here next meeting, which is the 17th or something like that. So they're going to be here. They're going to present the audit, but I'm hoping to double up one of these months so we can get back on track. So this is February's report, even though we're in April. Very quickly, January we had consumption was up 7%. Accumulated now in February, we're still up 5%, 4.7, I think it is, percent. So things are good because remember this time last year, we were going the opposite way. So
You think why is the increase?
I'm getting to that. I got a whole handout. Okay. Yes.
Within the part, are there any questions?
That's good.
That's very good. That's good. Water sales. Yes. Water sales is up 187,000 compared to budget, $366,000 compared to the prior year. And cash is up at the end of February, 147,000. I've already looked at March, and March we're up further. So we're up around 400,000 in cash. So we're going in a good direction. And we need that money because we have some payments later in the year that we have to make. So, but Bruce had asked, and Mr. Coyne has also reaffirmed, why did we go up? And so we did a little analysis and have a handout here. This is as of, well, the increase was 7% in January. And if you want to just pass that around, this is pretty detailed. There's a lot of numbers here. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10 or 12 accounts that we have identified are relatively significant. On top is Wolfspeed. Wolfspeed has increased their consumption and also their revenue.
That's very good.
So this is pretty detailed, and this is from our billing system, and we kind of tease this all out. And so the notes are what we have in our billing system. Some we're still looking at and we're still analyzing.
And remember too that this is January compared to last January. It's not January compared to December or November.
Right. So I'm about to give you February's as well, just to give you more information and more numbers, just to bamboozle you. And even though it's gone down, the same customers, or pretty much the same customers, are also listed on here. So here's February's. So you can see some of these customers are well known, others not so well known, and we're looking into some of these.
Hard to imagine why the correctional facilities would go up so dramatically.
I mean, occupation number of people in the system.
The correctional facility changed the way it was feeding, and so it's reflecting in the increase in consumption. There's another building, they closed off one pit, went to another.
Oh, so their system is different.
Yes.
And they're using more water.
Yes, and they got a new meter as well, so, that's, yeah, and they're also feeding another facility through that same meter, so that's what we think you're seeing with the correctional facility.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, different configuration.
Right. So you can see Wynn Hospital.
Well, Wynn Hospital really wasn't up when.
I'm real curious as to why Hamilton College is up. I mean, they do pretty much the same thing every year, so you wonder, we can look into that.
Now, do you notify them when their consumption's high or anything like that?
No, I mean, there's no reason to.
They get a bill, yeah.
I know, you make more money. You make more money that
Stop
way. I got
doing
that.
They look at the bill and they
I mean,
realize,
hey,
hey,
guy, your consumption's high. You got a leak
Oh,
somewhere.
when there's something that's significantly wrong, something doesn't look right.
Ann made a good point. The notification is a bill.
Yeah, you got
That, right? That's the notification.
make
Thank
a
you,
big
Doug.
difference. New meters make a big difference.
Sir,
So this is a lot of information. If you have further questions, you can contact me, you can contact Ann or Pat.
That's very good, thank you.
Yep. Geraldine put that together in her office. She does a very good job.
Yeah, very good.
Anything else, Jim?
Nope. Okay.
Questions?
I still have a question on the shut-offs. I see that we have some major ones there yet. That PF Michael Walsh is 18 grand, and another one, the apartments are 10,000. Most of the shut-offs are in the, 1 to 5,000 range.
Right. Ann shaking her head over it.
Okay, Ann.
Apartment houses.
Problem child, yes, our problem children. They're large apartment houses, Pat started an initiative to try and meet with, social services here in the area, the mayor, everything. Very difficult to shut water off in those large and relocate those folks. So it's been difficult.
Something like 120 units that are occupied. All those people would have to be relocated if we shut the water off.
I understand that, yeah.
No, we had an issue with them a year and a half ago, and it was in the news, unfortunately. Eventually we get money out of them, but they let it go until we make all kinds of threats, and then they cough up what they can.
Now, when you have a shut-off like these listed shut-offs, how many of them would be coming back after they pay their dues?
Repeat offenders?
Yeah.
I mean, you shut them off. How long do they stay off? I mean, do they just wait for the shut off and then pay you and then you turn them back on? Or?
Yeah, that's usually how it happens, although this year we have a lot of people that did not pay, so they're still shut off. And they stay shut off until they pay.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
How many would really didn't care after they paid?
Yeah, a lot of, some of them are abandoned,
Yeah.
some are absentee landlords, so they're not really paying attention to what's happening. But yeah, we leave them off until they pay us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we watch the meter to make sure no cheating going on, so that someone didn't turn it back on.
Well, we're still at 97, 98%.
We're up there. We're still pretty good, and yeah, it goes to taxes, and we eventually get paid. But we still write some off.
Anything else for Jim?
Nice report. Thank you.
Pat?
So I have a couple of quick things. One maybe not quite so quick. As you may see from time to time in the media over the last couple of years, there's been a proposed transmission line going eastwardly down towards Ilion, Herkimer, etc., pick up Schuyler along the way, potentially the village of Frankfurt. Those discussions have been on again, off again for a number of reasons. But most recently, we did have meetings with the village of Herkimer and the village of Ilion over at the headquarters of Barton and LaJudas here in Utica. And then we had officials from the village of Herkimer here just a few weeks ago. They're still hemming and hawing about what they want to do as a final solution. We have not been able to proceed with final design until we know who's in, who's out, because the pipe has to be sized properly to meet the demand, etc. In the meantime, the health department has given Herkimer a deadline. To my knowledge, their extended deadline is now April 29th. However, with Ken's help, we did prepare a letter that went down to the village essentially saying, after your meeting on May 5th, we need a definite answer one way or the other. If you don't answer us, we're going to take that as a no. You're out. You can't come back. Because if this thing's going to happen at all, we need a final decision on who's in and who's not in. So that letter went out. The only thing I will tell you is that we've done pretty thorough analysis of the numbers. financially based on their demand and how much the revenue would produce from their water use. And under any scenario and combination of users, whether it's this person in, this village is out, etc., any way you stack it up, the cost of the appropriate project to serve that demand still leaves excess revenue. Not as much as we initially hoped, but still 60% of what we had estimated originally would still be there. So the bottom line is that regardless of the size of the pipe, what we need to do on our end to prepare for it, who's connected at the other end, there's enough revenue to cover anything we need to do, and then some. So, our customers would not be paying any kind of rate increase to make improvements on our side to accommodate that growth. In the end, the growth would still be, in our estimation, at least a good financial investment to bring that extra business on board, expand our footprint, et cetera, et cetera. So right now, we're just waiting on the village of Herkimer to make a final decision and notify us what that's going to be. We may hear about it in the media even prior to that if they have to answer the health department ahead of our deadline. But at any rate, we'll keep you informed once we know what that's going to be like, and then we'll meet with the remaining communities and try to get this thing resurrected and going again.
Anything I can do to help you along those lines,
Yep.
feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and Anthony said, we're going to stay on you guys like a hawk, so
Yeah.
that's good. We'll keep you informed in the loop.
Yeah.
So as soon as I hear anything else, I'll let the board know. The other thing I was going to mention is that Dan Falzinski, who's out this week, our engineer, has had some very good meetings over the last few weeks with the city of Utica. You may or may not know that we've been awarded $9 million from the state to do lead service line replacements. The money has to be targeted based on income areas. And essentially what it means is it's got to all be spent inside the city of Utica. So what we're doing is planning that in conjunction with the city street reconstruction program, so that if they have certain streets open that they're planning on doing, we'll get in and have those lead services done with the state's money. But by doing it that way, we don't use any of that money to do restoration work because they're redoing the street anyway. So we get a bigger bang for the buck. We don't know how many services we're going to be able to do with that money, but we'll find out as the summer progresses and how good our, AI was in predicting where we think they're going to be, et cetera. Phil and our IT department, Jim Mack and Dan, have been working pretty closely with Barton LaJudas and another engineering firm to do this predictive modeling and develop our inventory. We'll refine that as we go along, but we should be getting a bunch of services done this year.
Yes, please. What's the status of the study that was being done to identify where the lead pipes were?
So by last October, we had to hand in our first go around of what's called a lead service line inventory. That was completed and sent in on time to the state health department, but it's always a work in progress. It has to be continually updated. Right now, we think there's somewhere between 4,000, maybe 4,500 lead services, and then a bunch of unknowns, galvanized pipe that may or may not have been connected and in contact with lead in the past. The real difficulty for us now, and I was down in D.C. at a conference put on by a group called AMWA, the Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies, their annual regulatory meeting, and they had members from Congress talk about new regs and funding, also people from EPA. And then just last week, Phil and I and a couple of others from here were up in Saratoga at the state section AWWA, American Water Works Association conference. The bad news is that right now, nobody can give us a definitive answer on what the final lead regulations are going to look like. And the issue of PFAS is looming large across the nation. Thankfully, it's still undetected in our system and hasn't been a problem for us, but it's a huge problem across the country, and it's kind of competing for funding and regulatory attention along with the lead service lines. So we don't really know yet what our obligation might be under the new final regulation as to whether we have to pay to replace these things, what circumstances, whether it's 10 years or maybe they'll extend it to 15 or 20 years. All of that is still unknown at this point. So that's all we know on that right now, unless there's anything you want to add, Phil, that you might have heard more recently.
Just that New York State has a couple bills pending that may significantly impact our lead service line replacements.
With or without funding?
Without.
Great question.
And it would be more stringent than what we think we're looking at the federal level.
Now, this money you're talking about, is that just from the main to the curb shop? Or is that all the way in?
It's all the way in right now. Yeah.
And who's the contractor?
Private contractors hired by the city.
Hired by the city.
Yeah, and the city's
A
getting.
friend of mine got a letter, and they called me, and they said, I don't know who the contractor's gonna be, I don't even know who they're gonna do.
I don't think they've awarded the contract yet.
Because he's got a
So-
finished basement, and they're
Right.
worried about them
Oh, sure.
doing damage.
No, it'll be, bless him. It'll be done in conjunction with the city, but right now, as far as I know, the city hasn't awarded the final contract yet. So we don't know who the main contractor is gonna be in this project at this point.
Does that grant pay from the shut off to the house?
That's what Denny just asked.
Oh, you said it, Mama. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Grant money. We're gonna do our side, but I believe it can still be used for the private side as well.
It has to. That grant money has to be used for full service line replacement.
To the shut off or to the meter in the house.
All the way to the meter. They're discouraging partial replacements. Right now, they're telling us don't do a partial replacement. If you get permission from the homeowner, then do the whole thing. Otherwise, don't do anything until you sit down and talk to the homeowner and set up a timetable for our side and their side to both be done.
And sending consent letters out to homeowners, so that when this program kicks off, they can go through and do those. So they're rolling in now.
Right. But we don't know yet if the homeowner balks. Eventually, if anything is going to happen or not, we don't really even know the answer to that yet.
Do we have the staff to carry this on?
Yes and no. But again, a lot of this will be done by the city's contractor. When they open these things up, we'll get in and change them out. But we won't be working on the private side with our own people.
I see.
That'll happen through the city contract. So that's moving ahead as well. So that's all we have on the regulatory front. There's still a lot of mysteries and unknowns. But I guess, the good news is this $9 million will put a pretty good dent in what we think is out there. So if we're going to be applying for another round. We'll keep doing that. And we'll keep, hopefully getting money until the money dries up. After that, we're not sure what we'll need to do. We could end up having a bond for some of this as well. And, I even asked a question at the animal conference in DC 2 weeks ago. Has there been anything new and I asked the same question up in Saratoga on the status of using tax exempt bonds, which we usually typically borrow. If you're doing it on private property, can you use tax exempt bonds to bestow essentially a gift on private property? There's been several cases around the country where that's been challenged, but I don't know that there's a uniform answer yet across the country, because if we borrow money to work on private property to do their side, then they might have to be taxable bonds.
That's somebody on 1091.
You might have to do that. Yeah. So I've got an idea in my head that I want to talk to the board about a little bit later over the summer for a mechanism that we might have to put in our back pocket and see if it comes up in the next year or two. But the sooner we deal with it, the better. But it would really be fronting the cost for the homeowner, but having them pay it back over time. And that way we're not asking the rest of our customers to pay anything to do it for, specific properties, where probably only 10% of the properties have this problem.
You should talk with Park County Sewer, because they're trying to figure out the same solution.
Yeah.
In terms of how do we, because they're going after the homeowners, related to
The laterals.
the laterals, yeah. So,
Yeah.
how do they pay for it? Well, maybe we can put back bill. So maybe you should create that conversation, because it's gonna come back on us anyway on the bill.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know we've been talking to the county about other issues, so we'll throw that in the hopper. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Are they gonna still continue the fluoride mandate from the federal government?
We're waiting to find out if that's going to happen too. The federal government perhaps could say stop fluoridating, in which case we'll stop. If they don't, right now we've reduced the dosage based on the guidance that was handed down a couple of years ago, so we're at 0.7, I think.
That's the optimal dose, yeah.
Yeah. So we lowered it. It was 1.1 parts per million. Now it's 0.7. We'll continue doing that unless we're told otherwise by the federal government. But that issue's up in the air and isn't resolved yet either. And nobody's crystal ball down in Washington could give us any guidance on that either. So
Down in Florida, they're gonna take it right out.
yeah, some states are voting to do that as a state law. We're not aware of anything in New York yet like that. Probably not. Probably not.
Did you see the federal subsidy to water systems from the states, or is it all local?
The money that we received from the state was block granted out from the federal government. So, and that's been the model. I don't know that the state is going to give us its own money, but the federal government will send money out to states, and then the states they put it in the state revolving fund, seed money for that. So that's the model we've been following.
Anything else?
I just want to give a compliment to the yard workers because I have recently had a leak, not me, but the road, a couple 100 yards from my house, and they came up and they dug it up, and when they finished, they had a tamper. I didn't realize our crews did that. They had a tamper. They put the macadam down. They smoothed it out, and they again today they were digging the other side of the road, but they came back to make sure that it was smoothly done, and they did a super job. I just want to say that.
Good.
They,
Pass that along. It's good
yeah,
to hear.
they were.
Whenever they backfill with stone, they have to tamp it in layers to
Yeah.
compact it.
No,
Otherwise,
they
it's
did
all
an
gonna
excellent
sink.
job. It was really well
Yeah,
done.
good. Well, we'll pass that along.
Any old business? Any new business? We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.